Recording in progress.
Action. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the APCHA regular scheduled board meeting for Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Okay. Peter?
Here.
Ward?
Here.
John?
Present.
Allison?
Present.
John?
Here.
And Francie?
Here.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Somebody from the county's here.
Yep.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. I've been informed or noticed by our attorney, who I don't think I see her in the room.
She is. Kate's there.
Oh, there she is, that we were going to limit public comment in regards to Dr. Singer's case. But I can open it up to other public comment. Step on, give us your name.
Guys, I'm Hunter Ross. I'm co-counsel with Chris Bryan on this Highlands Villas matter. I'm just going to give a brief public comment before you all go into executive session. I really hope this board will reconsider its opposition to the settlement agreement. This is something that MAA wanted, Highlands Villas wanted it, and APCHA staff wanted it. Everyone closest to this agreement wanted to settle, and now, the lawyers, we sharply disagree about our legal positions going into litigation, and I just really hope it doesn't have to come to that. And a complicating thing here is that our client really wants to spend money and improve these units and make them nicer for MAA students, and he's spending his budget to improve the units now on this litigation that, we think it's completely unnecessary. And, I know that APCHA is not worried about attorney's fees moving forward with litigation. And I mean, I think that's kind of a disappointing thing to hear, that, you know, we can be so cavalier with spending taxpayer money on this litigation when everyone who's directly involved and is close to this dispute wants it to go away. We want it to settle. So, I mean, we have an agreement. Everyone wants to walk away. It's a good mitigation of risk for every party. So I really hope you all will reconsider your position and try and let everyone just walk away from this once and for all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. I should have said cut public comment to 3 minutes, but I didn't. Do we have any other public comment? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Executive Director comments. Matthew. All right, actually, board member comments. I skipped that when I clicked my name.
Whatever you order you want.
Board
Mr.
member
Chair.
comments. Let's start with Mr. Doyle.
None tonight.
None at this time.
I don't have any comments tonight either.
Well, we can't go without
Board?
comments.
I knew you'd have something.
Yeah, a couple things that have come to my attention. We're going to address some of them in what our goals and draft work plan are. But people that have come to me, I hear a recurring theme, and it's that staff seems in the interface between the APCHA clients and staff, that they feel that staff has been short, dismissive, and rude. And whether it's true or not, it is what I repeatedly hear. So as we go forward into our work plan, just to make staff aware that this is what the outside perception is, and to work on a better outward-facing, more invitational, and a perception of confrontation is, I think, what's out there. And of course, we always hear one side of the story, and there's always the other side of the story, but that has been, I've heard that repeatedly. So I wanted to bring that to the attention of this board and to the public as well. I've also been in a discussion, and it's come up a number of times, I think it's come up here before, about the 1,500 hours as a qualification for APCHA housing, and that some people think that it should be perhaps 1,400, and I would like to see it as a topic of perhaps discussion going forward with some of the employment that people have that live in the city, seasonal workers, with also with like Jerome Hotel's going to be closed for 10 weeks, and it's going to put stress on people that are wondering if they're going to be able to make 1,500 hours. So that's a policy thing that I'd like to have a discussion about. And another thing that's come to my attention, I know Matthew's told me not to worry about this because it's been discussed a lot in the past, but I haven't heard it, and I'd like to be at least directed to where this discussion was, and it's about HIPAA and as it interfaces with APCHA qualifications. The necessity for physical therapists and other people that are doing work that their clients fall under the headlines or under the protection of HIPAA. How the work hours that these people put in can be confirmed while protecting the privacy of their clients. Those are a couple of things. And Matthew mentioned that last year there was a lengthy work session where you
What I said, staff discussion.
I'm sorry?
Staff discussion.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I would like to have a discussion at the board so we're aware of that.
Okay.
These are the type of things I think would be great, maybe on those off meetings where staff hasn't had time to get together, like a new regulation or a case to bring to our attention, but it's worth the board meeting and coming together and having conversations on things like the hours. HIPAA is, I think, a portion of what could be a good group discussion on self-employed, sole proprietor type businesses, client-based businesses in general. So I think these are the kind of things where I'm imagining if we need an off week per month of just essentially a work session where it is board discussion and we get to be involved and learn that these issues are coming up, what the different perspectives are, what the history is to how they could be changed or improved. Because I do think that we get things pretty late in the process without having that discussion time, and I think it would alleviate some pressure on staff to have to bring us a topic each time if we already have a discussion topic marked.
It would help me in my interactions with people that contact me about APCHA housing. I always tell them I can't get involved in individuals, but we're involved in the policy making. But to know exactly what the regulations are, and I know Matthew's shared with me that, IRS guidelines are what is used for confirming work hours, et cetera. But if in a work session setting where we could be informed of what those are, it would be really beneficial to me.
Peter?
I don't know if this will come up later. I'm interested in the Burlingame response. I saw the email that went out today, which was great. And is that something we'll cover later?
I'll mention it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested in how many applicants were interested in downsizing,
The right size program?
right sizing. Thank you.
Get your terminology right. New guy. All right. That's it for APCHA board member comments. Now we're on to executive director comments. Matthew.
So what on the HIP, we can absolutely have a discussion. We at APCHA do not feel that we're in conflict. There's a conflict between the HIPAA law, sharing of confidential information, and showing qualification from for APCHA housing. We've worked very successfully with a number of self-employed employee people in those fields, and they've just taken simple, just blocked out names on invoices or anything, and we're happy to work with them. What we don't accept is I can't give you that information because of HIPAA, which is what we've heard on a number of occasions. And that blanket statement is incorrect, is not backed by any specific reference to HIPAA, and has been used as a way to not provide us any information at all on hours worked. So maybe I can get some of the qualifications people up here, or I can read them, or I can go through it with you guys how we do it, but we do not believe there is a conflict. We had this discussion, I had this discussion with Tom last year, and he advised us that we should focus very squarely on what the regulations say in terms of providing information to us, and trying to go down a route figuring out what is in HIPAA and what isn't is not a good use of our time. So we do not believe there's a conflict. We've worked very successfully with a number of people who have expressed concern, but there has also been a few people who have tried to use HIPAA to decline to provide us any information, which we do not accept.
And just for clarification, every time that I am been approached by somebody,
Yeah.
and then I approach you guys, you go, well, we met with this person,
Yeah.
and you've gone out of your way to meet with the person.
Yes.
And
Thank
of
you.
course,
That's true.
it is, and
Yeah.
and that's the rest of the story that
Yeah.
you don't get in the front end. But as far as HIPAA is concerned, if invoices are presented with the redacted names and addresses, that's acceptable?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I can chat with, if you want further detail, I'll chat with our qualification specialist on the exact procedure, but when I've mentioned it to them and said, oh no, it's not a problem, we're happily to accept redacted invoices as long as that matches up with hours tracked versus payments received. As long as everything's in harmony, there's no problem at all.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. Then Peter, you asked about downsizing. We haven't had any. We've had some expression of interest in one downsizing of the 5 in the Burlingame. So we've had a nibble,
Okay.
but we don't have anything yet. And we've had about 700 bids for those 74 units so far. So there's a lot. And there'll be there's going to be an information memo in the City of Aspen packet on Friday for their work session on Tuesday, which will get into much more nitty gritty on that. And when that memo comes out from the city, I'll circulate it to all of you guys.
When does the lottery happen?
The lotteries are ongoing,
Oh, okay.
right?
Okay.
So we've had,
The first one for
One,
Burlingame
yeah.
is until September 6th. Is that
we-
the first one? So this first batch, the requirements for documentation has closed. So people can still bid once because some people we still haven't finished qualification on. So they have until September 6th to actually place their bid. But now the second go-around has come. So for the second set, people can now can continue to apply for them. So we can still get packets, but they won't be in part of the first lottery. Believe me, this
And
is
we
really
had a-
hard for us to keep track
We
of
had a-
all
we
of
had
we
this.
had a long
Yeah.
discussion. We had a long discussion with the city on how to do it, and we really didn't want to do one giant lottery because so we're rolling them out by building, and there's an extra layer. Thanks to our esteemed colleagues from the city, they're taking longer because we are having to check the works in the urban growth boundary. So it's not just Pitkin County. So there is that extra step, which is quite tedious. We're happy to do it, but it is quite tedious in some regards, actually tracking down that the employment is in the urban growth boundary. So it's,
Yeah, and just a comment on that is that is a priority,
Right.
not a
Right.
necessity.
right.
What percentage would you say of the 700 are OEZ?
What?
Urban growth?
Oh,
Urban
urban growth boundary. I don't know.
What is it?
That's a good,
I'm sure it'll be in the nitty gritty. I will
UGB,
hold
yeah.
my breath for Friday.
Yeah.
And we don't actually
think
know
we're
that
I don't think
yet
we're tracking that
because
yet.
we are just now asking for paycheck stubs, things like that, and going
Right.
into everybody's account and then putting a note on there, whether if they're in the UGB, if they're in the top priority, or if they're in a little bit lower of a priority.
And so staged is difficult but still preferred, you're saying? These staggered
yeah.
bids?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're doing it building, and I think it's also better for the client because they're looking at a particular building rather than the whole thing. So
Right.
I think it's more specific for them, which was another reason we wanted to do it. But the headline is over 700 bids for 74 units.
Why, that's obviously a great response. Why do you think no right sizing applicants? Is it the program or is it the product or?
That's a really good question, and that's part of the reason we're doing both a BG3 and then our own outside the lottery program is to see what works. And we'll see if this one works. So far, we've had a nibble. We'll see what happens. It's only 5 units, and the same with the APCHA outside the house swap or outsizing. We don't have a successful one there, and I think that's an important data point though, is to try these things out before we try anything else out. Let's try the simple things first before we get too complicated.
Francie's got a quick question.
Yeah. I was looking around for her. She's
Her hand's up.
Yes, thank you. So if an applicant does not succeed in the first round, are they automatically moved to a different building round, or do they have to reapply, or are they just out of luck?
They don't have to reapply, but they have to place a bid.
Right.
So they have to place a bid for a specific set of units that they're interested in, whether it's 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and the category. Because they also have to be in that specific category. So, and so if there's like 3 category 3 1 bedrooms that are in one, like in this lottery, they only have to bid once, and then the top 3 will have the chance for the unit. So we have a few like that as well. But then if they don't win in this first go-around, then they have the second go-around that they can place bids on the next set of units that we have, that fits what their category and what their house size is.
In
And the time cutoff will allow them to do that after
Yes.
they hear about the
Yes.
first building?
Yep.
Great, thanks, Cindy.
Francine, just a clarification, and Cindy, you can make sure I'm clear on this, that they can use the same packet, they just had to pay
Yes.
another $5
Right.
for,
Right,
for a.
and they won't have to provide another pay, if during this first part, if they bid and they provided us their documentation, and they provide us their updated, paycheck stub and employment verification form, and they're in the UGB, what we're looking at, they will not have to provide us with that information on the second go-around. They will be just considered for that. All they have to do is place the bid for the unit that they're interested in.
And for the record and clarification, it's employment within the UGB. It's not that they're currently living within the
Correct.
UGB.
Correct.
Good point.
Okay, and then the one other thing I wanted to mention was the APCHA newsletter went out last week. We do that middle of August, probably in January, and then at the end of the season in April or May. And I think that illustrates that we're also pushing out BG3 information in that. That was heavily focused on that. But the exciting part is that we had, of 7,924 newsletters we zapped out, we had over 5,000 opened, which is a 65.5 rate, which is outstanding. You know, a lot of these times you'd be a success if you got 15 or 20. So 65.5% is great.
Where are we at with affidavits?
I should know that. Let me check.
We'll have to look into
Yeah,
that,
sorry. We'll get you an update on that
Click
next week.
rates, I just want.
Yeah, that's good. And if you guys don't have anything else, that's all I have.
Thanks, Matthew. Cindy, you've got something here, signing up for notifications available rental units and sale units.
Just a reminder, because we do have some other, besides Burlingame, we do have some other units that are on the market. We will, down the line, probably within the next week or two, have a 6-bedroom, single-family home at Burlingame 1 coming on the market. So, look, honestly, sign up. If you're interested in our program, please sign up. If you got any questions, call our office.
Is that RO?
No, it's a
Wow.
category 5.
Wow, great.
The price is close to RO, but it's a category 5.
Hey, real quick on, at one point we had some discussions on struggling to find some of our lower income units or get rented. Where are we at with some of that stuff?
We're actually, for our low-income housing tax credit units, we're almost totally full. Because with this last increase that HUD did for incomes, it has helped us, because they did a pretty big bump up. So I would say we might have 1 or 2 units that are still vacant, but ones that have been vacant for over a year, we're finding people to fill them.
Can you
So
send me
we're
what
on a
that
more
new-
positive track
What that new
now.
level is? Do you mind sending me, just for my own information, what that new level is?
It's in our, I'd have to look. It
we'll
is in our regulations that
find
are
it.
online.
It'd be-
I just
it'd be
can't
great.
remember what that is.
We're just,
We
bank
can
does a
send
lot of
that to you.
CRA stuff, and I'm trying to get income levels raised too.
Cindy, would you, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but would you say that the lower income rentals are the most difficult to rent?
They were, because for our low-income housing tax credit units, they were.
Right.
Because that income was so low. We didn't have problems with our 1-bedrooms, but with our 2-bedrooms we did. Because we require it to be if it's 2 working people that we look at working the 1,500 hours per calendar year, they usually make more than that.
Because the HUD level is
Is so,
50%
was so
of
low.
AMI, right?
Yeah.
So it's 50% of AMI, which is, nobody's making that.
And
little bit big income.
488 Castle Creek Road is the only, that's those LIDEC rentals landed there in this last Aspen Housing Partners?
Yes, yeah. That's one, and Aspen Country Inn, and then Trescott Phase 2. Trescott Phase 2 is a 60%, and it's based on the program that was called HERA, H-E-R-A, and their incomes are higher than, in which they no longer have HERA anymore, but our program at T2 is still under that. So their incomes are a little bit higher, but we still have problems filling our 2 bedrooms at T2. But we're getting there. We're close.
All right, thank you.
Can I add one?
Sure,
more
Peter,
thing?
go ahead.
we had talked about a centralized wait list for rentals, and I'm just learning kind of the system, and what came to my attention is how
There is no system.
there is no. Well, I read Allison. Thank you for those different guidebooks, and I think they are very helpful. But what jumps out to me is that there are 7 other property managers that manage a bulk of the rental units, and if there's an opportunity to improve that system, notifying applicants and things, or I was looking at Jackson Hole's program today, and I think you just sign up and you get an email or text when a unit becomes available for rental, and then they have a lottery for that unit. I realize our system's different, and that you have to reach out to each of the property managers to find out your status on that list. And I know the APCHA managed units are prioritized by work history, so I'm just trying to think of somebody coming to town and trying to find housing, what their sense is for how long it might be before they would move up a list, or if they just give up hope, and what the typical experience is.
I think, in my experience of managing lists is extremely time consuming. I did have the discussion with Diane, and she's had some experience with this at Park City, and you do end up spending a lot of time managing the list. You have to offer, the one person the opportunity, you have to give them a certain period of time, usually a day or two, and then you end up spending a lot of time and effort going down it. We will certainly look at the system and ways to improve it. The other thing, Peter, is, the priority is to people, the highest priority is people who've been in Aspen for 4 years. So you could make the
That's
argument.
just for ownership.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so delete that. But it is difficult. I'm not sure we're the best people to be writing a guide on how to find housing in Aspen. We could contribute to that, and we'll look at the way we do the rentals and see if there are ways to make that more clear, particularly on the website. It is a bit of a mess. So thank you for that feedback. But we would find actually running a list would be, we would not be in favor of that from a staff perspective, because then we spend just a huge amount of time running the list itself.
Is there any way that it could be, is there software out there for leasing that automates that list? I'm just thinking, reading that people looking for housing are encouraged to call regularly to each of these 7 property managers. That seems like it's probably using a lot of staff time for those property managers. I don't know about APCHA, but is there any system out there that might
We can
streamline it?
have a look.
Can I just point out,
Yeah.
if you're moving to a new town and you want to find an apartment, typically 7 is, that's the lowest I could think of how many apartment complexes you would have to call and ask if they have availability and what the wait is. So it's not a unique system that you come to a new town and you call around until you find an available apartment. And I would say, since the only thing that you could do if you're coming here to work is probably live in a subsidized place, then it's actually quite narrowed down and simpler than most towns when you move there. And I don't think there's anyone, you're asking what is that experience like? I think ask anyone who's still here and renting how many different places they lived the first year. We are trying to work with businesses who are recruiting from without to make it very clear how hard it might be to find housing, or to businesses would love to have an inn, to have some recruitment places, and co-opt that in some way. But it is not a mystery to those who do come here without a place to live and not a lot to spend, how the system works. I think it is actually pretty well understood.
And you also have to understand that our program is, for rentals, is about 1,500 units. You're not going to find that in Jackson Hole. They don't have as many, not even half of what we have.
Absolutely.
So you have to also understand that ours is a huge program as well, whereas some of the other housing authorities in some of these smaller towns like Breckenridge and even Vail, they don't even have not even close to the number of units that we have as well.
And I think that's
Yeah.
all the more reason that automated system, like you go on Airbnb or Stay Aspen Snowmass, or you go on multifamily leasing website, and you can see what units are available. I think it's the make a phone call to every property manager seems like an antiquated system.
I have,
Sometimes you bring them cookies.
I'm sure more than that sometimes.
do these different property management companies have different policies? Like,
It's free.
does
Yes.
APCHA have
They're a
all of
private
those?
You
enterprise.
can't control them
Yeah.
because they're
I'm
private.
not asking if you can control them. I'm asking if there's a central place that, say, APCHA has what the current guidelines are, it links to their site, and that they can more easily see what the individual guidelines are.
Some of them don't have, Centennial, I think, for their rentals, they might have a website people can go to. I don't think Castle Ridge does. So we have a list of phone numbers and the properties and how many units are in each of the properties and who they can contact. That's what we have in our website, and that's what we can provide to people, is the list of the properties out there and the property manager of who they can contact.
And do they communicate with APCHA what their guidelines are?
I'm not sure what you mean by guidelines.
Well, APCHA guidelines are that work history,
Yeah,
Well, they have to
say,
go
they have to
by
qualify
that.
through APCHA.
they have to
Yeah.
qualify for APCHA, but if you're in APCHA managed, it's a priority based on how many years of work history
Right.
you have. All of the units have, all of the?
No, they're basically first come, first served. They make the decision, and they can say, I don't like your attitude,
They-
I'm not gonna pick you.
I mean, they are,
Yeah.
they're governed by the normal housing landlord laws, as, you know, they have to qualify through us, but Colorado is quite in favor of the landlord as opposed to the tenant, and they exercise those rights if they want to. That'd be a fair way to put it, right?
So
But they do have, but they have to qualify through us in terms of our three
Yeah, I
main
understand
requirements,
the
yeah.
qualifications through APCHA, but
Yeah.
the individual
They
property
are
managers
governed by
have different.
normal Colorado tenant landlord law, which is, in my experience from, you know, the East Coast is quite aggressively in favor of the landlord here in Colorado.
The landlord?
The landlord, yeah, not the tenant.
Ah, okay.
It's changing, it's evolving. There's a law passed this year that's intended to provide some protections for tenants that we're aware of. But landlords, they might want a credit report, or they might want some other evidence of how much you make, or who knows, but they're allowed to do those things.
So
They
you're the one
can't
due
discriminate, they can't discriminate based on a protected class, race, creed, color, religion, etc. But otherwise, they're free to, make their own decision, or subject to getting approval by APCHA for the tenant.
Are they rated on Yelp?
Probably rated a lot of places.
All right. Everybody else good there? Next item on the agenda is agenda amendments. This is a new one to me. Do we have any agenda amendments today?
We added it just in case anybody wanted to add something. Usually we don't.
All right, so next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from August 2nd, 2023?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Sure. I'll second that.
Discussion? No discussion, all right, move to voice vote. Cindy?
Okay, Francie,
Aye.
Allison?
Yes.
John Ward,
Aye.
Ward Howenstein,
Yes.
and Peter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And the next item on the agenda is deliberation decision on the Dr. David Singer's appeal to the APCHA Board, appealing the hearing officer's written decision regarding Dr. Singer's lease termination. And we also have an executive session posted if we wanted to go into that. I have no preference on how to handle it.
You want to talk to your attorney, Kate?
Probably wouldn't be a bad move. Maybe we should motion to go into exec first and then come back.
I'll move to go into exec session for the purpose of study of legal counsel on the David Singer issue.
Francis, are you gonna cite the C.R.S.?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, will you say that? I don't have it right in front of me.
I'll do it. I'll do
Thank
it.
you.
So I'll motion to go into executive session for the purpose of receiving legal advice under C.R.S. Section 24-6-4024B regarding Dr. Singer's appeal to the APCHA Board, appealing the hearing officer's written decision regarding Dr. David Singer's lease termination. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
We'll do a roll call vote as well.
Okay. Francie,
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes?
Ward, Howenstein,
Yes.
and Peter?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move into executive session. Clear- Action. All right, we're back from executive session. We received legal advice from our legal team. In the matter of Dr. Singer and his appeal of the hearing officer's written decision, I guess there's several items that came about: violation of due process, bias, ex parte communications, and then I have an opinion on probably the last item. But I'd sure like to open it up to board members for any opinions they may have on any of the items I've listed or mentioned.
Should we start at the top, the due process?
Due process, or yeah, violation of due process, yes.
Okay. I feel that Dr. Singer was given, I don't think there was a violation of due process. I think that the fact that he missed one meeting but had legal representation upholds the due process. So I think the process that was followed in this, I would dismiss that appeal.
No comment?
Are we talking about one or two?
We're talking about just violation of due process. Yep, sorry.
Okay.
I wrote them down out of order, Francie.
Okay.
I agree with Ward. I think there's enough there that I don't think there was a violation of his due process rights. Um,
Also agree with that.
Kind of next item was bias. I don't have an opinion on that. I don't think there was biased decision-making on that.
No, I mean, it's come up before, but I think if you have someone, a small community, a local hearing officer, that claim is probably going to come up regardless. I think in this case it was cited because the hearing officer lives in APCHA housing. I think actually in this case that means he has nothing to gain from a unit opening up and didn't find that to be a violation.
Francie, do you have an opinion on that?
No, I pretty much agree with what you guys are saying. I'm sorry about the thunder you're hearing from my speaker. Major thunder going on here.
Not hearing it.
I don't think we have any grounds to determine whether or not the hearing officer had bias.
I agree with Allison that it's a small town, and our hearing officer has a long history of support for workforce housing, but I don't see evidence of bias.
And the last one, or the second to last one, ex parte communication. I think that's reaching as well.
Saw no evidence of ex parte communication.
Yeah, I think it was just scheduling and nothing substantive to the case.
Okay, and then kind of the last point is the 30-day deadline for the hearing officer to make a decision. And this is where I've kind of put my foot on the line, and I believe that we hold people accountable to make decisions all the time, get paperwork to us within a certain time frame. We're going through what is it? I'm drawing a blank. Lotteries. We're having people reaffirm their status, and there's timelines involved with that. I think this is where we hold our hearing officer to a standard of the 30 days. And I believe because he didn't make that decision in 30 days, he lost jurisdiction to make a decision. So my motion would be to deny the hearing officer's decision based upon the missed 30-day window. And I'm open to discussion with anybody else on that.
I agree. I think it's pretty clear, and I agree with you that timelines are important, and support that motion.
I think the rules need to apply to all parties, that we hold our clients, the people that are looking for APCHA housing, to that timeline, and I think it's appropriate, and this isn't missing it by a day or two. I think it's appropriate that our hearing officer make a decision within the 30 days.
This months, right?
Yeah, many months.
Yeah, again, this was not an issue of just a couple days. It was well over the 30-day time period, and we are all held to higher standards than that. Thanks.
Francie, commentary?
I agree with what's been said. I think particularly with APCHA, where deadlines are of the utmost importance for our constituents who are applying and have to get all their information in on time, that this is a place where we should definitely hold our hearing officer's feet to the fire.
I think that, see if I can phrase this properly, that I would like to make a motion that we...
Can I participate in the discussion?
Yes, sorry.
I thought you had.
Thanks. I absolutely think that when it comes to housing, you deserve quick decisions, especially if it's something as serious as a notice of termination of a lease, and it could mean changing where you live. I think that's so precious and so important. The finding that this exceeded jurisdiction because he didn't, I haven't come to that conclusion, because there's the way it's stated in our regulations doesn't specifically say that if it's after 30 days, the jurisdiction is lost. I think that if that's what we want, it should, and I'm willing to support that moving forward. However, I do not think in this case the hearing officer lost their jurisdiction. I think he didn't do what the intent is and what we want. And I think our wishes for what that for everyone to stay in line are all admirable and appropriate and should happen moving forward. But I do not think that was what happened in this case.
And I think that's fair. I just think the word shall means that we're going to make that decision. I don't think it's fair, and that's my opinion, but on your housing, your stability, that you don't know. And 30 days is to me, an adequate window to hear back. So I don't think it changes the facts of the case, as we kind of went through due process, bias, ex parte, communications. Doesn't change it, but I don't think it's fair to hand down a decision months later from what you dealt with. And it doesn't say that they can't go back and try again.
But, and whether it was unfortunate or not, I just don't think that I think it's our fault, right? Like, we wrote the regulations not strict enough, and to have a hearing officer guess that we probably meant this or that, I hope that we are more clear moving forward. And I think in this case, since we had not stipulated that, it's the conclusion that it was wrong is unfair. That's all. Now you can make your motion.
I'll motion, Ward.
Yeah, please.
I'm going to motion to the board that to deny the hearing officer's decision based upon the loss of jurisdiction and not meeting the 30-day deadline. I would also motion to direct our attorneys to prepare I can't read my handwriting. Prepare a, I'm looking for the terminology.
Determination.
A determination.
For the board's review.
For the board to review based upon our decision of the denial of the hearing officer's decision.
I'll second.
And we'll do a roll call vote.
Can we have just a brief
discussion? Sorry.
So in essence, what we're asking our council to make a determination is that we would uphold the appeal.
We're upholding the appeal based upon the loss of jurisdiction.
Yep.
Okay, roll call vote.
Francie?
Aye.
Allison?
No.
John?
Aye.
Ward?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And actually, I would say, Peter, because you weren't part of the hearing, I would ask that you
Abstain.
recuse yourself from this particular item. Thank you.
Thank you.
3-1.
Yeah.
Okay. We have our decision. Thank you. All right, and the next item on the agenda is executive session for the conference. So I'm going to motion to move into executive session again for the conference with APCHA attorney for the purpose of obtaining legal advice under section C.R.S. or under C.R.S. section 24-6-4024B and 24-6-4024E1 or E1, in determining a position relative to matters subject to negotiations in Highlands Villas LLC versus APCHA, case number 2023 ZV 30067-2.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Roll call vote.
Okay. Francie?
Well, yes, but I hate to go back on the phone. Isn't there some way we can just stay in this room without
Yes.
anybody else in the room?
Since we don't have to come back, I think we do have a way of keeping you on the microphone.
There's no action item after this on the agenda.
Right.
Is Dora, is that possible?
Yeah, it'll be like quiet for 30 seconds as they close out the show.
Okay,
And then
but
mic
she
will go back
can
on.
still be on Zoom in the room? Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
That's much
perfect.
easier.
Okay.
seconds.
Okay, then I'll vote aye.
You drive a hard bargain, Francie.
Peter?
That's right.
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
John?
Aye.
Allison?
Yes.
And John? Oh, I guess no, you just because Ward voted you. Thank you. So a couple of minutes for us to
Change
The
over.
2 Johns, 2 Wards.